Hey, coming to you live from WRU in Tennessee. It's the Scribbling Woman.
Hi, I'm Nancy Rue. I'm a scribbling woman, and so are you, and that's why we're having this conversation. Here we talk about the writerly life that's unique to you, no matter what your age, your season, the history of your career, even if you don't even have one yet. You are now an official scribbly, so let's chat. I have a guest today. Meet Abigail Horgash, who describes herself as a YA fantasy writer masquerading as an assistant bank manager. And she is one half of the Abby and Abby podcast that you can find on Apple Podcasts. And she's also the creator and teacher of the rabbit hole journaling method, which you can find on her Etsy store. And she's awesome. I know this for a fact because I have known her since she was a teenager, and now she's just this marvelous woman. So, Abby, welcome.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm excited to be here.
And the hat. Tell us about the hat.
This is my thinking cap, and I only ever wear it when I'm writing. I made her. She's a little bit floppy today because she's over my headphones. But she sits with me at my desk, and I put her on and I write stories.
She is the best, and so are you. So, Abby, on this podcast, we've been talking about the four threads in the tapestry that make up the writerly life. The first of which is dream discovery. That's the time we spend and the space we make for envisioning everything about being a writer. So, today, with your help, Abby, we're going to dream about the ideal audience for what we write. I may have mentioned in episode one that I've been in this business for 43 years. And I know this for a fact. If an editor or an agent asks you, who is your audience? They do not want to hear you say, everybody. My book is for everybody. Yeah, ask me how I know this. So deep in us, we have this thing that we feel like is a universal truth, and we feel like it's for everyone. But if we try to reach everybody with that message at the same time, we simply water it down. That does not sell more books, and editors and agents know this. And we don't eliminate that sort of generic thinking if we say, I write for women, because how many different kinds of women are there? You've got your straight and your gender fluid. You have your realist and your fantasy lover. You've got your wholesome and your gritty. And even genre doesn't narrow it down enough. You know, we have an idea of who devours romantasy. Are you impressed, Abby, that I know that? That I know that new genre?
Yes.
You should be. We know who loves them some literary fiction. We can spot a lover of fairies and wizards from 100 paces, right? And that helps some. There, we can whittle it down even more, and that's what you're going to help us with, Abby, as we dream our audience deeper and deeper. So, Abby, who is your dream reader?
My dream reader is 16-year-old me. Um, she was lonely and a little weird, and she needed some friends. And she found them in the covers of books. And I want to write for her because she needed those stories. She needed to feel not like she was a freak. She needed to feel less like a weirdo. Um, and now I write for those people. So I don't want anyone to ever feel by themselves, which I felt so much as an early teen and early adult. And now that I don't feel that way, now that I've found my people in my writing community and the people in my life, I'm like, I have something to offer now for those lonely people out there.
I remember you once saying that now you don't feel like you walk into a room as if you had Dumbo ears on, and that is absolutely not the case. Can you tell us about
No.
a specific member? You know, right? Can you tell us about a specific member of your reading audience?
Specific number. Um, I can just see her. Um,
Okay.
she is, she's 16 and Am I jumping off course, Nancy?
No, you're fine. You're fine. Keep going. You're fine.
Okay. Um, I write for her. I can see her. She's got like these two big glasses that are a little too big for her poor little nose, and she's always putting them up. And she wears lots of flowy dresses, but she wears sneakers because they're more comfortable. And
What kind of sneakers?
she feels a little bit low. Oh, she wears high tops, of course,
Of course she does. Of course
bright
she does.
colored ones. Because she's got three different pairs and three different colors to go with any outfit. And the world around her is a little bit crazy, and it can be very loud and demanding. And people want to know, like, how are you going to change the world? What are you going to do with your life? And I can just see her. She's like, I'm 16. I don't know what to do yet. And I find myself thinking of her as someone who's looking for bigger stories than the world she finds herself in. And if hope wins in those stories with the curses and the evil and all of that stuff happening, and somehow there's hope in the end, um, somehow maybe she can make a difference just being an ordinary girl in an ordinary world.
Just as you have. And what do you want to say to her? You know what she's saying to you. What do you want to say to her?
You're not by yourself. You're not weird. And that you're going to go through life and you're going to find people who fit you like a puzzle piece. Like you were just cut in the right shape to fit inside of them. And that's going to be your friend group, and you're going to find your people. And it seems impossible, especially when you're young. It seems so impossible. But as you get older and as you learn to be more yourself and not try to shut yourself up in little boxes with little labels on them, you'll find that you have those people who fit in your puzzle piece and that don't need boxes, because you can't build a puzzle that's inside of a box. And I think that we'd all
Love
rather see
that.
the colorful picture that someone is versus, a box with a really pretty label on it.
Yeah. I remember you saying to me when we were talking about this before that you want to say to them, there's nothing wrong with you. Can you elaborate on that a little
No,
bit?
I think it's very easy to feel like there's something quite abnormal about yourself. I say that while I'm staring at myself in this obnoxiously big hat. Um, but there's nothing wrong with you. You were created, there's nothing wrong. You were created beautifully and specifically and intentionally. And that's how we're supposed to live. It took me a long time to figure out that I wasn't supposed to be, you know, turning myself into a shapeshifter to figure out where I belonged, that I belonged just the way I was, and that I, as a human being living on this planet, was created uniquely for this time, for this place. And that's pretty awesome. And
It
I want
is
people to
absolutely awesome.
embrace that feeling of like, I'm pretty awesome because I'm here and I've been created in the reflection of who God is. And I think that that's pretty much where you can find all of my themes and my stories are like that. But I want people to understand that being you is pretty awesome.
How did you come to that, Abby?
Spending a lot of time trying to be someone I wasn't. It's very it's very easy to start changing your colors to match other people or the people that you're with. And being a chameleon's pretty exhausting, and
Mm.
I'd rather be the color I've always been. And it took many years of learning that I don't have to shapeshift to be accepted. And that going back to that puzzle piece, like the right people who fit in my life and in my picture, um, they don't need me to change colors or shapes because we fit together on purpose because we make the bigger picture. So I think that um, honestly, it was a lot of heartache and a lot of learning that it's not about who you make yourself, it's about being yourself. And the people that want to be with you, um, they stay. and you find them more often than not when you're being yourself, and that keeps the right people in your circle, in that tight circle, and it makes you feel encouraged and you feel like yourself when you're with them.
Yes. Yes. Are your protagonists often like your audience?
Yes.
Are there some
Very much.
similarities there?
um I would agree with that. I think that um my protagonists find themselves in situations that are a little bit larger than life, and that's so on purpose, because
Okay.
I think it's I think that's what you need. You need the I love the you use the word romantasy. Like, there's that big fantasy that I think that we need as readers to be like, "Oh, if it's so big out there in this story and it all works out, then maybe in my little ordinary world, things will also work out." And so I think that if you can find similarities in the character for yourself, um, it allows you to bring that hope back into like normal life. There goes my
Exactly.
hat.
Exactly.
It allows you to
Exactly.
bring that hope. Yeah.
And you used a metaphor recently when we were having a chat about being the maid of honor. Talk to me about that.
I think the maid of honor at weddings is always, you're like, who are you when you attend the wedding? Because this person is being given this place of honor in a someone's life, and you're like, who are you? I thought I was close to the bride, and I try to be that person for my characters, because um, I want to be there for them with, you know, in the crazy of life, when they got 3 piercings at 15 and they're like, wait, maybe that wasn't a good idea. And when they've been making important choices and hard choices, and being the person that was with them through all variations of themselves.
Yeah, all
Because
those
as a writer,
iterations.
exactly, like I was with you when you were a little kid, I was with you when you were that awkward middle schooler, and I'm with you during this time when you're a teenager, and oftentimes in my imagination I'm with them into adulthood, and I know who they are and who they become. And so I want to be someone's maid of honor. I know the deep dark secrets, but who they have been, and I have all the anticipation of who they will be.
That is why I invited you today, because you are the ultimate dreamer. And somewhere in there, as you're writing for that reader who's waiting, does the boho ever show up? Last week we talked about big old hairy obstacles. Does that ever show up? That
Yes.
sigh says it all.
Yes. Um
What is its
I
pet
used to
phrase?
imagine, oh, it's pet phrase. Oh, who wants to hear what you have to say anyway? And it's very loud and
Mm.
he's very annoying. And um I always say it's like he grabs my wrists and puts a hand over my mouth and is like, absolutely not. And I've learned that my boho, he doesn't go away. I can't get rid of him. Um, but I have to learn to make him a lot easier to handle so he becomes palm sized.
Okay.
And the way that I do that is um, reminding myself I have something to say, that I am kind, and that I want to help people discover courage within themselves. Because a question I often ask myself is, how can someone who's so afraid to tell others how to have courage to be themselves, to be myself? Um, so I have to remember that I was created to do this, and I was created to talk about really hard stuff, um, but in a very soft way, because I'm not very courageous or loud or bold. None of those words would fit into my description of myself, but I know that I'm kind, and that I want to talk about the hard stuff, and I want to talk about the real stuff. And I have to do it in a way that's soft and not as
And
hard as,
writing
you know.
and writing is an act of courage in itself. And you are incredibly brave, Abby. So thank you so much for being here today. And again, if you want to hear more from Abby, go to Abby and Abby on Apple Podcasts. That's ABBIE and ABBY. We always end these episodes with a scribbling nudge, something to think about until next time. And this time, let's pursue in our dreams, how will you find your reader? Whether that involves taking her shopping or digging in a garden together or running for 5 miles at talkable speed. And how will you find out who they are? Because that's a dream worth having. And if you want more detailed explanation of what we've been talking about today, please visit the blog, the Scribbling Woman blog at www.nancyrue.com/blog. And until next time, Scribblies, scribble on.